is over.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this special edition of the Insiders podcast. It's a late night after Raw edition, and thank you guys all for joining us. I know it's late. I know everybody's kind of tired a little bit after the long day, and we appreciate you coming aboard as always. So, welcome to this discussion of the Undertaker, and we are kind of celebrating a little bit, I guess, his career after watching the last ride on Sunday. And we're going to just kind of go through our thoughts a little bit about what we think of that. Obviously, what we think is coming next. And then we'll just share some moments. And you guys can chime in as well during that point. And we will shout out your favorite Undertaker moments. So, let's get the show on the road. I will start off here and just say that the last ride to me was amazing. Loved watching it, and this was from a person who we never really heard much about through his career. He kept in kayfabe, did a very good job of doing that, and he kept himself very professional. Never really did much like this. And then all of a sudden you saw him on the Stone Cold Steve Austin show, which kind of opened this up a little bit and maybe kind of led to where we ended up with the last ride. And I will just go on to say that I absolutely loved it. I loved all the episodes. I loved the look into Undertaker's career. And then, of course, this last one. I will tell you guys, I did, and I think I told this to Jeff earlier today. I got to live up to my namesake, right? So I spoiled the ending when it came out on Sunday morning. I fast forwarded to the last 5 or 6 minutes or so, and I watched the ending first. And then kind of went back and watched the rest of it. So I kind of knew what happened at the end. I was just way too curious, and I wasn't going to be able to wait the whole hour and 10 minutes to get there. So live up to my moniker, man. It was a great show. And look, my co-host Jeff called it. Listen, we were talking with Gary a while back, and we were talking about the last ride when it kind of started. And Jeff had said that I really think that he is going to announce his retirement at the end of the last ride part 5. And well, it sure seemed that way. And we'll discuss. We'll talk about that a little bit. But before enough for me, Jeff. I like I said, man, kudos, because I know you called this back when I think this series first came out, pretty much. And you had said that the Boneyard match was just so great. What better way to have him end his career? So, man, go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I got that feeling after watching the match and how it was shot, the images and the story that they told during the match. And I think we talked right after that match, and I said I wouldn't be surprised if this is his last match, just with how great it ended up. I don't think either one of them would have envisioned this match going how it did and getting the reception that it did. But I just had that feeling from there, because I didn't really didn't know of anything else that he could do at this point. I mean, obviously when it comes to fantasy booking, we wanted to see him go up against Bray Wyatt or Sting or Edge or someone else, but I just thought that with the way the Boneyard match was shot, the outcome, him riding off into the night with his fist raised in the air, I just thought that was a perfect send-off for his career.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't think there's a it reminds me of I'm a sports guy, so I watch a lot of sports, football, basketball, baseball. Not so much hockey, but I watched a lot of championship games won throughout my life, and it reminded me a lot of John Elway when he won the Super Bowl and he retired right after that. Kind of walked off the field with his hand held in the air and holding up the number one sign. And look, you can't get any better than that. If you're an athlete of any kind, you can't get any better than walking out on top. And it's every athlete's dream really to do, because not many get it. And to see him have that moment, like you said, riding away on the bike into the sunset, and then having the Undertaker symbol lit up on the barn, garage, whatever it was. It was just about a perfect way to go out. So we'll get into a little more details on the show, but I really thought it was interesting at how when they talked about that set, because they made that set look tremendous, made it look big too, and when they said it was just a small little plot and showed it from above, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing for you guys if you haven't watched it yet. I don't know what you're waiting for, because it was amazing, but it's really cool to see how they set this whole match up. So, Jody, what did you get to watch it yet? I'm not going to assume that you did, because I know you have work and busy a lot, but did you watch it? And if so, what did you think?
I did. I did get to watch it. I missed like the couple of episodes in the middle, but I definitely watched the first one and the last couple of them. I definitely got that feeling too after the Boneyard match when he's riding off, and I definitely got that inkling that he might be done. And then obviously they started doing all the last ride stuff, and I'm like, okay, I think this is his ode to his career. This is how WWE is going to send him off. And I obviously there hasn't been an official announcement yet, but I think he's done with matches. I don't think that necessarily we're done seeing him, but I definitely think he's done with matches. And like you guys said, what better way to go off that? That Boneyard match was fantastic, and he's had an amazing career, and more props to him. He deserves to go off in style.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. If anybody deserved it, this man certainly did. Everybody who spoke about him on these shows had nothing but good things to say about him, and saying he was kind of like the godfather of the locker room. And when you saw those scenes, you saw people coming over to him and wanting to be around him. And Roman Reigns asked him to sit down with him and his wife for dinner, and it was so yeah. It's really, like I said, you don't really hear any bad things about him. And I saw, I saw a clip with him talking about talking to the superstars in NXT when he was at the Performance Center and things like that. But and them all kind of listening to him in a meeting room, that was pretty impressive. Really paying attention to what he had to say, and then him getting in the ring and kind of showing them some stuff. So look, if he's going to stay around the business, he sure can. And he can do it in that way. He could be kind of a mentor, could go to the Performance Center every now and then and kind of mentor these guys, and what better way to do it than with him. So look, he did mention at the very end, I think he said something like break glass and call the Undertaker. So if Vince would call him, he's not 100% sure, but he is pretty certain. So maybe there is that still little bit of something out there, but I would agree. I really don't think we're going to see him in another match. I really just don't think so. And like Jeff said, the fantasy booking and everything that I wanted to see, I don't think we see him in another match. Some of your comments, let's see. C says the cinematic matches aren't easier than wrestling matches. Yeah, he mentioned that, and he mentioned mentioned it because they're standing around a lot. You got to remember that when you're acting, if you haven't watched any documentaries and things like that, sometimes you're on your feet for, 12, 14 hours. And, a lot of those times you don't have a lot to do. So you're just kind of standing the whole time, kind of just preparing for your part and this and that. So, for a guy his age, it might be tougher for you to do that than it is to move around in a match. So, let's see. Nail says that wasn't an official announcement. No, I kind of don't think so. He didn't come right out and say, I'm officially retired. But I mean, sure, it sounded to me like it. And I think it sounded like that to Jeff and Jody too.
Yeah, I just meant that WWE hasn't made that official announcement.
Yeah, I agree. Austin 316 said Undertaker's the godfather of wrestling. I thought that for years. Love that. And love that Roman said the same thing. Yeah. Look, I think, what impressed me about these shows was how much Vince McMahon respects him. Because, you hear so much about Vince and the goofy things that he does and stuff like that. But you can't help but notice how much Vince really, really loves this guy. I mean, when I heard that Vince rode with him in an ambulance when he had that match with Lesnar and he was concussed and left the arena during a WrestleMania, and seeing Vince kind of hug him and all this kind of stuff. Look, Vince kind of knows what he did for him and his company. And I think he really respects that. And he respects the work ethic of the Undertaker as well. And everything that he's done for him over the years. You heard Bradshaw saying, Undertaker has never had a bad match. He said he came out, gave 100% every single time he came out to that ring. And he just never came in and just gave it, a little bit and just left or anything like that. So,
I think what struck me the most watching the Last Ride series is how much respect everybody has for him. Like, I feel like that's very rare in any company, not just, WWE, to just have that one person that everybody's like, yeah, mad respect to that dude. He's amazing. He's a good guy. He works hard. He does what he's supposed to do. He's that leader for everybody else. He's a role model. And that's so rare in any company to have that just one person that's like, yep, that's the guy. And so there were a few times that I got kind of teary-eyed, all these people talking about how amazing he is. And it was nice to see that other side of him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Some more of your comments. Nail says, I always take retirement as meaning in-ring, like appearances and being a legend is a given. Yeah. Jonah Katz says, I'm worried about the Saudi prince, what the Saudi prince will say. Hopefully Vince can convince him not to have Taker fight if he is retired. Yeah, they love those guys over there. So hopefully the money doesn't talk in that respect. C says, I don't think we should...
But like Nail said, he's a legend. Appearances are a given. It doesn't mean he has to have a match.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. When he went to Saudi the last time, he basically just came down to the ring and kind of choke slammed AJ. So, that's very true. C says, I don't think we should ever hear Undertaker is retired. His character needs to remain a myth with a question, what if? Yeah, good point.
I like that. It's a good point.
Good point. Jacoby Snow says, I want the Fiend match to happen. Yeah, it's funny. Jeff and I did an interview earlier today, and we were kind of talking about that with Derek, it came to the agreement that we all kind of thought he picked AJ for a particular reason. I think AJ's build. The way his body is built and stuff like that. I don't think, look, this is not any knock on Bray whatsoever, but I don't know that it would have been a smart idea to wrestle Bray simply because, and that's, like I said, not saying Bray isn't good at his job and does a great job, but I think just because of Bray being a brawler and being big, I don't know if that would necessarily have been the best kind of match for him to do this late in his career, because a brawler style match is probably a lot tougher than, you know, a match against a guy like AJ where he gives up the body weight and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, look, anything's possible now that we have these cinematic matches too, because, you know, they can always come in and kind of not have to do a whole heck of a lot to do them. So it's certainly possible. One of the other things we mentioned during this interview too was, and this was an interesting point, what if they decided at SummerSlam, instead of everybody saying he should be there for a wrestling match, what if they decided to induct him immediately into the Hall of Fame at Survivor Series? Yeah. Instead of waiting until next year at WrestleMania, what if they had a big celebration for him at Survivor Series and kind of just inducted him into the Hall of Fame ASAP, like right there? Like, I mean, look, that would be amazing to see, and you know, surely would sell a ton of tickets. And I'm sure they're kind of hoping by then. I mean, Survivor Series is in November-ish, so hoping probably that they'll have fans there at that time. Yeah, you know, to me, I thought that was a really cool comment. I mean, what better way, you know? And then of course you can always have his actual ring given to him when he's, you know, before WrestleMania, obviously in that as well. But you know, then we also kind of thought that he's such a big name that he kind of should have his own ceremony. I mean, this is a guy that's on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. And how many, you know, how many people can you say is on there? I think I mentioned mine was Hogan, Undertaker, Ric Flair, and I think I said The Rock, but I couldn't kind of go with Stone Cold as well. But yeah, man, I mean, he is a legend, man, a legend. Clementine Moraine, I hope I say that right. Welcome. I enjoyed all Dead Men's matches, but the one that stands out is when Lesnar broke his undefeated streak at WrestleMania. Look of disbelief, Jody. Yeah, Jody loved that one. Look of disbelief and pain and shock on his face. But hey, you gave your all and we'll miss you, though not for long. Attitude Era. Yeah, I think everybody's in shock. I said that when that happened, that was on SportsCenter. That's how big that was. It was actually on SportsCenter, and SportsCenter never crossed over into wrestling, not until recently. So when you saw something like that be a headline on SportsCenter, you know, that's something. And yeah, when he lost that streak, and now it's funny because you kind of see people looking like they're rethinking that a little bit and thinking that maybe they should not have done that, and he should have maybe gone undefeated. So, yeah,
I think so should have.
Let's go round table, and I'm gonna go back to Jeff. Jeff, what's your? I guess I know this is gonna be so hard to pick out. It's one of our wonderful loaded questions, and it's late at night too. Makes it a double whammy. What's the thing you're gonna remember him most for?
Ooh, the thing I'm gonna remember him most for.
Match or whatever you want to say.
I think just the fact that every time you see him it's a big deal. I mean, whether he was just coming out to do a promo, whether he was just showing his face, whether he came to the ring and didn't say a word and, you know, choke slammed or tombstone someone. I mean, every time that music hits, you hear that bell toll, and the pop that this guy got was just phenomenal. And I mean, his early work I really enjoyed because of the way his character was, and he was very mysterious, didn't talk and say anything. You know, I remember those vignettes where he's building the caskets and all those things, and you have Paul Bearer's screeching voice talking. Yeah. There's just, I mean, it's so much stuff, but I think every time you heard that music or you saw the Undertaker, it's just, the pop is unbelievable. And honestly, I would even venture to say that the pop in the locker room would probably be just as cool, because, you know, we've seen how much they respect him and how much of a legend he is in the business. So I just think his presence being larger than life at sometimes is what I'll remember most.
Yeah. I mean, I go all the way back to the beginning. And let me, before I do that, let me just I'm going to shout some of your answers out here. Nail says you can't decide on my Mount Rushmore. It makes my head explode. Yeah, it's hard to pick that. Let's see. We've got promos from the graveyard. She says yes, absolutely. John says I want Fiend versus Taker in a normal match or a cinematic match. Rusty says can still picture him from tossing Mankind off the top of the cell in 1998. Yeah, man. I mean, what an iconic moment for both of them, really. It really propelled Foley's career, and even though the poor man could have died. But yeah, absolutely. Austin says so much to remember Undertaker for. It's hard to name one. Yeah, it absolutely is. Look, I remember, I think I was in 1990. So again, I'm aging myself here, but I want to say I was probably 20. So yeah, I'm 20 years old. And I'll never forget it. It was honestly the coolest thing I have ever seen in wrestling. And I've been watching since I was about 7 or 8. And, I have never, I mean, I lived through the Hogan years and saw everything that Hulk Hogan had to do and all those 80s personalities, come and go. And they were larger than life personalities. If you want to call the 80s a wrestling decade or name it something, it was larger than life because all those personalities and gimmicks were larger than life. And then he came along in 1990 and blew it away. I mean, blew it away. And this was when horror was so big. In the theater and on TV and in people's minds, it was huge. And for this guy to come out with this gimmick that he had, and just right off the bat, you're like, my God, who is this? And just looks so it was so big, much bigger than everyone else. And I mean, even Hogan. And you just didn't see this kind of stuff. So it was absolutely breathtaking for me. And like Jeff said, I cannot say, and this even includes Hulk Hogan, and I was a big Hogan fan when I was a kid, but I can honestly say that I've never missed one of his pay-per-view matches ever. I would not miss any of his matches. Like Jeff said, it was just can't miss matches. And for my moment, I'll go back to, I saw a live show in Pennsylvania at State College. And I happened to be lucky enough to have seen a house show there that had Undertaker against Lesnar. And it was probably the highlight of the live shows that I have ever seen because I got to see his actual entrance that he would do, normally with the smoke and the, didn't have the acolytes or anything there, but the smoke entrance, the music, the floodlights in the arena, darkness and all that kind of stuff. And it was the coolest thing I've ever seen live at a wrestling show. So I will always remember that. And my friends that were with me were kind of blown away. And some of them weren't wrestling fans. Some of them were just there to see a show, had not been lifetime fans like me. And they were just blown away. They just stood there watching the entire time, didn't sit down through the match, were standing the whole time. So I'll personally never forget that. Look, I will never forget him and his contributions to the sport as well. So Jody, I'll send it over to you. Loaded question.
I mean, obviously, you guys all know that I'm kind of new to wrestling. I really only started watching like 3 or 4 years ago, but my brother used to watch it when we were kids. And even though I never watched wrestling, I knew who the Undertaker was. That's how big he was. There were like 2 names that I knew, and that was Hogan and the Undertaker. And I knew that, and I never watched wrestling until 3 years ago. For me, obviously, being a Bray fan, the WrestleMania match that he had with Bray and all of the build up to that was amazing. But my greatest memory of him is going to be kind of odd because it was a memory that that I didn't get to have. So obviously I was supposed to go to WrestleMania this year. and I was gonna get to see Undertaker live for the first time, and I would have been there for his match with AJ, which in the end, the cinematic match was so much better. But so that memory that I could have had, will always stick with me. We actually still have all of our WrestleMania tickets in our safe in our closet. We're not going to throw them away. But yeah, he's just one of those big names that even if you don't watch wrestling, you knew who the Undertaker was. And I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna be the Bray fangirl and say his WrestleMania match with Bray. My husband, I did talk to him about this because he's been watching wrestling his whole life, and he said the one match that sticks out the most to him is the second match that he had at WrestleMania with Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Those Shawn Michaels matches are amazing.
Yeah, and I said, why? And he said, because those are the two greatest wrestlers in history, and to have them together was just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Let's see. There's so much to remember, says Austin. Yes. Yeah, boy says, nope, I lost it. Sorry, it's late. Jacoby Snow says the Fiend and Undertaker in a Boneyard match, Survivor Series. You're not alone. A lot of people would have loved to have seen a match with him and Bray, and obviously the whole thing with passing the torch. I do have to say, and I think C mentioned this. He raises the dead, Bray does. Can he raise a dead man?
That's where I go back to. I think he's done wrestling, but I still think and we've talked about this before, that, I've kind of said a few times before, I don't think that we're ever going to get a rematch because Bray challenged him.
Right.
Before. So
right.
In terms of redemption, there really wasn't a whole lot to tell. But I do definitely think that, if he's still around and he's not done, being a legend, I think we could still get a Fiend attack at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to get the match.
Very true. Very true. Let's see. John said, I saw Undertaker's last real match at Extreme Rules 2019. Awesome, man. Awesome. Nails asked if he ever won a burned alive match. Was that burned alive or buried alive?
Buried alive.
No, it's buried alive. Yes. He never won a buried alive match, did he? Good question. I think he has. I want to say he has because I know he's been in a bunch.
Yeah.
Austin says the story with Paul Bearer saying Undertaker's brother Kane was still alive that led to their match at WrestleMania 14 is my favorite storyline of all time. Yeah, man, Undertaker Kane was awesome. When they brought Kane out, as impressed as I was with the Undertaker, when Kane came out, oh boy, when he first appeared, with toward the end, it got, once you saw him without the mask, it kind of took the mystique away from Kane a little bit. But before you did, oh boy, when Kane showed up on the scene, it was like the reverse. Undertaker was, kind of demonic in his own right. Kane was just downright scary when he first came around. So Austin says, I'm sad I never saw the Undertaker in his entrance live. Yeah. It is. I'm sure there's a lot of people would have loved to seen him. Yeah, boy said the same thing. Nail says, always loved how much Undertaker looked like him. Unreal, they found someone so similar. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, but yeah, look, I don't think we've seen the last of him. Like Jody said, he certainly could show up in several ways. Look, I think we're even talking about the whole Randy Orton thing a week or so ago, because now Randy's back to Legend Killer Randy. So what happens if he decides to show up in a ring and Randy just decides to hear the voices in his head and punt the Undertaker? I mean, it can certainly happen. Randy can go all crazy on all the legends too. So Nail says, after this documentary, I don't think he will stop being Mark now. What kind of really led me to believe that he's really done was when And we should talk about this too. Look, Mr. Goldberg botched another move. Botchberg botched almost botched and broke the Undertaker's neck in that match at Saudi. And boy, oh boy, you want to talk about a thing to see, and a picture of the Undertaker was when he was in that ring, just sitting there after that match, and just looked both pissed off and
terrified.
And upset and annoyed and probably scared as well, knowing how close he came. And he also said his back was killing him and stuff. I'm sure it was. He got jarred on his spine basically. But I think that was when he realized that like something like that can easily happen. And I think he realized that was the time when he had to make a decision to be Mark and to be the husband and to be the father, and kind of knowing that someone looked out for him that day and didn't allow his, something really, really horrendous to happen to him, where he could have died. He could have been crippled for the rest of his life. And I think that's when he made that decision to know, well, this is it. This is it. That's enough. This was as close as it's going to get. And, he kind of lost faith in himself a little bit too, thinking that I can't necessarily say I can avoid something like that now, because he's not as agile as he used to be, and he doesn't take bumps like he used to. So yeah, I think that was kind of when he realized that that and the thing with his brother was really sad. I didn't know that his brother had passed away during COVID, which, man, I don't think there's anything worse that could happen to someone's family. If somebody passes away during this whole COVID thing, it's not like you can just travel and go to your family and everything like that with this all going on. So that was horrible. And when I heard that, I was like, wow. And he just, he kind of had to just go on with everything that was happening. So it was just sad. And I think maybe, look, things like that happen too. And you kind of just start to realize your mortality, I guess, a little bit. So, listen, guys, shout out. Again, I appreciate you guys coming out with us at night, late here. We're not going to keep you that much longer, but shout out. One of two things. Shout out what you think is going to happen with Undertaker. Is he retired? Is he done? Or do you think he is going to come back? Shout that out to us. And also let us know as well, what are going to be your favorite moments of the Undertaker? What is something you're always going to be remembered? I know you were talking a little bit about it. Rusty just said them pulling shards of glass out of his arm. Yeah, I noticed that during that Boneyard match, and I think I was talking to Jeff when I did I was like, wow, he put his arm through that window. And you could see the big bulge on his arm and stuff like that. Yeah, man. Like they said they had to stop filming and they had to wrap that all up and get the glass out and everything like that. So yeah, that was crazy. And of course they let it in there. Didn't edit it out or anything like that. I mean, it was left in there as well.
Obviously, working in healthcare, that one got to me a little bit.
Yeah, man, that was like to go right through glass. So crazy. Austin says, I'm not sure if he's retired or not. If he is, I'll miss him so much, but I'm happy for him. Yeah. Great shout. I agree. I think, everyone deserves to have a good, a good life. They've provided years and years of entertainment to fans, and in his case, it's 30 years of entertainment. So, and he certainly does deserve it. Wrestling Days fan says, my favorite moment of the Undertaker when he returned against Cena at WrestleMania 34. That was very good. Yeah, absolutely. Moda says, I want to selfishly see him do something at Survivor Series because I think it makes sense. But I think we saw the last match at WrestleMania. Yeah. When it comes to people we really enjoy watching, we're all a little bit selfish, because you never want to see them go. I know myself, again, looking at people in sports that have left, that have been heroes of mine. It's always hard to let them go, but that they, again, they deserve that part of their life and the rest of their life. So Nail says, I think they'll do an anonymous Raw GM story again, and it'll be revealed as corporate marketing glasses. Raw and make 8-man tag team matches. This is a great question. Who inducts him into the Hall?
Honestly,
I think people. I think that interview we were doing. I'll let you answer. I didn't mean to cut you off, Jody. We were talking to again during that interview earlier today, and I think Derek was saying we asked him that question, ironically enough, and I think he said 4 people. I think he said Triple H, Shawn Michaels. Who were the other 2, Jeff? Triple H, Shawn Michaels. Was it Kane?
He said Kane, and then he said Vince.
Vince, yeah. I think he said 4 people because, just because of who he is. Go ahead, Jody. I didn't mean to cut you off. Who do you think inducts him into the Hall of Fame?
If the Boneyard match was his last match, I think it would be poetic if AJ did it.
Yeah, he has a lot of respect for AJ Styles. A lot of respect for AJ Styles. So, Nail says Vince or Kane. Yeah, I think Vince would definitely be involved in some way. I think it
will be Vince, but I would like to see AJ do it.
Yeah. Boy says, I think he's done in the ring, but my favorite Taker moment in his whole is the Ministry of Darkness. That's an unusual one. Because a lot of people kind of put that behind them a little bit. I know when Brandy did our Undertaker show, she didn't even kind of want to talk on that part of it. Because it's a little risque, but absolutely a moment in his career for sure. Austin says, my favorite moment is his feud with Kane, to be honest. Either that or when he pushed Mankind off Hell in a Cell. Yeah. Huge moment. Jacoby Snow says, yes, I think we will get a Fiend attack, and he will put a picture of him on the wall of friendship, and we will get the attack at Survivor Series. Look, you never know. Nail says he deserves a rest. He's broke kayfabe, let him be celebrated and chill and make cameo appearances. Go ahead, man.
What?
Yeah, so I've got a little bit of a different thought on who inducts him. And
okay. Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
I think no, it's fine. It's fine. I think Vince. I think he's going to have more than one person, obviously, but I think Vince is one. But I want people to understand that they had this group backstage called the Bone Street Crew.
Ooh,
and he's got that big BSK tattooed on his stomach. I think one of the people that will induct him will be Charles Wright, aka the Godfather.
Oh, that's a good call.
That's one of his best friends.
Yep, that's a great call. Who was the rest of that crew, Jeff? Was it Yokozuna, one of them?
Yeah, Yokozuna was one. I think there were 2 more.
Yeah.
But I know for sure Charles Wright and Yokozuna. I'm gonna look it up while we're talking.
Google that sucker. Yeah. Vince has to induct Taker, says C. Yes, I agree. He could probably have a panel of people, definitely. Rusty says, I want it to be Vince. He deserves to have the boss put him in there. DJB Tazzy says Vince. Yep. Modus says, remember when he debuted here in Dallas at Survivor Series? I could still hear Piper saying, look at the ham hocks on that guy. Yes. Famous line by Hot Rod, man. Absolutely. Let's see. Be awesome if Vince did it, says Austin. It'd be a huge deal, like when Vince inducted Stone Cold. Yeah. And I honestly think, I know Vince and Stone Cold were close, and Vince made Stone Cold what he was, but I think Vince and Undertaker are closer. C says, imagine we get Taker Hall of Fame induction before WrestleMania, then firing Taker's, then during Taker's speech, I think you meant to say, Fiend attacks and we get one more match at Mania. Obviously,
wishful thinking.
A lot of people want to see Fiend and Undertaker. He might want Michelle to do it. Yeah, Michelle McCool, his wife, sure. Modus says, my favorite would have to be when he debuted. My jaw was open all the way to the floor the whole match because I think the wrestling world had never seen. I'm thinking to say someone like him. I've never seen. Yeah, I agree. It was just it was stunning to see. Yeah, boy says because he was so damn scary to me as a little Yoshi. Oh man.
Hey Joe,
Go ahead.
Joe, I got the crew. It's James Harrison, Savio Vega, Henry Godwin, The Godfather, Midian, Yokozuna, Brian Adams, Rikishi, Paul Bearer, and Mr. Fuji.
Oh wow, man. Wow, that's a lot of great names right there. And listen, who's gonna mess with that group? That's a
Right.
lot. That's a lot of beef, man. That's a lot of big dudes in the back, and then of course Mr. Fuji with his salt packets. You don't want to ever mess with Mr. Fuji's salt packets. So Moda says, "Oops, never seen a big man move like that the first time he walked the ropes." Yeah, that's a great one because who's gonna ever forget that? A guy who walked like across the middle of the ropes in the ring. Yeah, never saw that before. And you were in awe. Yeah, man, I was too. Nail says Taker and Eddie were groomsmen for JBL. I think they're all still friends. Yeah, I know JBL had said he was close. Absolutely. Yeah, now that's a crew. Yeah, that is a crew, DJ B Tazzy. Absolutely. We'll keep hoping for the Fiend versus Taker until we know he's officially retired and is inducted into the Hall of Fame. Look at all that beef. Should have done the Vince voice. I don't know if I can. It's late. Look at all that beef. Look at all that. There you go. That's probably it for my voice now too. So, Mayor King,
I think that was pretty good, Joe.
Did you like it? Was it good? I gave it my best.
That was pretty good.
Mayor Kane should name a street after him. Mark Calloway Avenue. There you go. I really love the fact his wife helps him get himself back into ring shape. Yeah. She
Very
absolutely
supportive.
Very much so. Yep. Jacoby Snow says after he gets abducted, I think he meant inducted, but that's cool. Inducted into Survivor Series. The lights come off, and then we see the Fiend in the funhouse with the red light, and then the light comes on again. The Fiend is behind and then attacks. Yeah. You guys are all wanting the Fiend match, man. Yeah. I love it. Rusty Calloway says Nails. Clever. Austin liked my Vince impression. Thank you very much. The final intro at Taker's Hall of Fame induction should be Paul Bearer, similar to how they use Fink's voice at Backlash. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great call. Yeah, that would absolutely be awesome. Very, very good call. Very good call. Oh, man. Listen, we can talk about him forever, and we will. There will be people who will be, and I really hope, and like I said to you guys, seeing that part of the episode where he spent so much time with his with the people in the performance center, I really hope that he continues to do that because you'll see people that will be inspired by him, who knows? I mean, Bray had some good things to say about him in this last episode as well, and we don't know where all these guys take inspiration from, but you'd kind of like to think that the horror characters that are out there now are definitely taking inspiration from the dead man. Even if it's Bray not dropping kayfabe, maybe that's his inspiration that he took from Taker, because Bray doesn't like to drop kayfabe. He plays the part really well, and maybe he thought, hey, this guy did this for 30 years and never dropped kayfabe. So yeah, man, Moda has a question. He didn't do the job on his way out of the Boneyard match. So is there a surprise coming where he puts someone over in his final time in the ring? Maybe.
I don't think so.
Maybe. I don't know. I just think honestly that he's done. I really do. I just don't think we're going to see him again. He went out on top. I think he's put so many guys over in his career. I mean, we saw him with Cena. We saw him with Kurt Angle. We even saw that match with Randy Orton where he put Randy over and he let Randy kind of beat him up pretty good in that match. So I just think he's done that for so many guys I mean, it's certainly possible. Anything is possible. But yeah, he's done it for so many people. I just don't think so. I don't think so.
And I think in terms of all of that, if it were anyone else, I might say, okay, I agree with that. But given who the Undertaker is, what he stood for, and all that he's done for the business. I don't think he's the type of guy that really needs to do the favors for anybody on the way out. I think he's done enough of that, like Joe said.
Yeah, I agree. That picture tells me there's no more Undertaker, says Nails. Yeah, that's a somber picture, isn't it?
I think I've changed my mind about him passing the torch now too after watching that documentary about him.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, everybody's talked about, oh, he needs to pass the torch onto Bray or whoever. I don't think he does. I mean, no offense to Bray. Obviously, you guys know I adore him, but nobody can do what Undertaker has done. And I don't think it would be right for him to pass the torch to anybody. That he is his own person and nobody will be like the Undertaker. And I don't think anybody should try. So I don't think he should have that final passing of the torch to the next dark character. I just think that he should go out on top the way he wants to. And, you know, he doesn't need to pass that torch to anybody because nobody will be able to fill those shoes no matter how much we love them and want them to.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true, man. Legends come and legends go, and that's why they're called legends. Rusty says, well, here goes. For the first time since I've been a wrestling fan, Taker will no longer be an in-ring wrestler. It still has not completely set in yet. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, man, we when you grow older, and you guys who are younger will find this out in your lives. When you get older, it's part of getting older. My parents, they had legends to them as well, in entertainment and, in different areas, presidents and, politicians and stuff like that were legends to them. When I was growing up, all I heard was about Elvis Presley with my mom and my dad. And of course now I have my own. And it's all part of getting older. And you see these guys, will go through almost your lifetime with you. For me, like I said, it was 30 years of my life between the age of 20 and now the age of 50. And he's been a part of that because I watched wrestling the whole time. So it's always sad. It always is sad to see that person go. But again, you just got to kind of think to yourself. And a lot of times, that the human nature in us is to be like, oh my God, I'm going to miss him so much. I don't know, it's going to really kill everything for me and it's not going to be the same. It's human nature to feel that way. But on the other hand, you kind of have to think to yourself, that he deserves, that picture says it all. He deserves to have peace. He deserves to have his life with his wife and his kid. He deserves to have, his moments in the sun and to go into his older years, without being, maimed and crippled and stuck in where he can't walk around and enjoy that. So, but yeah, I get it. I get what everybody's saying. And yeah, man, it's absolutely, it's sad to lose legends. It definitely is. And this one is going to, I think, hit a lot of us hard. And thank you, Rusty. Yes. He most definitely does deserve it. Moda says, just goes to show you need to cherish wrestlers that you love and cherish the moments that you see, because you never know when will be the last time. Oh man, you're right. You're so right. And that's with anything. It's really with anything, in life. If more people kind of thought that way, of even, best friends, siblings, anything like that. Yeah. If anybody just thought that way, it'd be a much better world. So yeah, man, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, guys, it's getting on upwards of 12 o'clock. I know we had a long day streaming with you guys. We had a great time with Abby's Window earlier, and we just thought it was appropriate to do something with the Undertaker, because it was such a big thing and really hit a lot of us hard. So we just thought we would kind of do our little tribute to him with you guys, and we appreciate you all coming with us today on this little journey. And listen, thank you again for joining us tonight. And as always, we will see you on Wednesday for our podcast at 10:15. Also, I believe we have an interview at 6 o'clock that day. And again, Guys, thank you so much for coming, and have a great rest of your night. Take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you all again soon.